I'm curious about in that process, are you making use of any generative AI tools for eDiscovery today? If so, you have recommendations?
I must confess, I do actually have a license for GPT-4. And what I do is I have used GPT-4 for idea generation. I'm maybe writing a topic about challenges and about something, whatever it might be. And so I'll just say, I'll ask it a question and see what it gives me back. And sometimes it may give me a challenge or two I haven't thought of. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can write about that. I usually don't take the content straight from GPT, because I don't like the way it writes. It doesn't write the way I like to write. But it gives me ideas and gives me good ideas for topics. There are occasional exceptions, like the post I did that I published yesterday, where a comment on a post last week where Carolee Byerly said, I was writing about the fact that we're seeing research papers out there that have certainly here is, which is a dead giveaway that it was just taken straight from ChatGPT. So she said, well, why don't you just ask ChatGPT a question? How do you find AI content? And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So I went and did it, and then I put that result in. So if I actually ever do use ChatGPT content, I'll disclose it because I've done that a handful of times. I asked it a question and gave me a good response, so I'm putting it in there. As a general rule, it's more of an idea generator.
So obviously with your experience, it's a great background to come from to write what you do. I'm curious about something you wrote recently, which was the State of the Industry report. And I was curious if you had any big takeaways or key headlines there you wanted to share.
Well, sure. So this was the fourth year of the State of the Industry report. It's grown every year. This year we had 444 people participate in the survey. And there's a few questions we always ask that are the same questions year after year, so we can track trends. So we ask questions about technology-assisted review and mobile device discovery and collaboration app discovery and so forth. And also the biggest eDiscovery, story of the year. One of the things that was notable and probably not surprising, the first 3 years of the survey, the eDiscovery trend of the year for the coming year had been collaboration app discovery. And people were like Slack and Teams and all this stuff really having an impact on discovery. Well, then, of course, ChatGPT came out, and last year really...
We knew where that was heading.
Yeah, and guess what? The implementation of AI and generative AI into eDiscovery became the top trend by far. I think something 40 some odd % of respondents said that was the top trend. I also dropped a couple of questions from the first 3 years that had to do with remote work and going to in-person legal conferences and stuff like that, because being pretty much out of the pandemic at this point, those really weren't pertinent questions anymore. So I replaced them with 2 generative AI questions. And one was just a list of things and say, what are you doing personally from a Gen AI standpoint? And about 2/3 of people are at least reading and researching it. And about 2/3 of people had at least played with ChatGPT a little bit. Another question I asked was impact on eDiscovery in 2024. And about close to a quarter of people expected it to have a transformative impact this year, generative AI, and almost 3/4 expected it to have enough of an impact to at least revamp workflows, which is still pretty significant. So I think those are some of the interesting trends. For the 4th year in a row, the issue we don't talk enough about is lack of eDiscovery education. And this year, I think I'm going to revamp that question a bit, because I think people have talked about, well, maybe we should put in things like pricing and access to justice and some of that. So I may revamp that question this coming year to get a few more of those other topics I think that are probably under discussed into the mix.
That's neat. I appreciate you sharing that.